Hello, and welcome to this commentary track for the No Hunter stream run in Bloodborne. My name is Nick, aka Strenuous Orb, and thank you for joining me. The No Hunter stream run is exactly what it sounds like. The goal is to get all the way past Mergo's wet nurse without ever visiting the Hunter stream. That means never dying. It also means we can never level up our character and we can never upgrade our weapon. Of all the Souls challenges that I've done, this is probably the most challenging. It's a run that requires every bit of your skill, patience, knowledge, perseverance, and resource management. Before I get into the commentary here, I want to give a shout out to a couple of YouTubers in particular whose strategies were very helpful to me in completing this run. KNM Gaming Guides, who does videos about all the Souls games, and also Die You Evil Druaga, who had some helpful strats for this run. The early part of this run is really just all about running around Yharnam collecting things that you're going to need later. It's also about collecting blood vials, and fortunately early in the game there are a lot of places where you can collect pretty big chunks of vials at a time. Now here I'm going to break these boxes, try to avoid the crows, and pick up a couple oil urns. These are going to be very useful to us later when we're fighting Rom, believe it or not. And you'll see why. We're going to head to the right here, and we're going to pick up our saw spear, which is going to be our only weapon throughout this run. You want to quickly equip it, as there will be rats on your tail. Climbing up this ladder is pretty dangerous. You're almost guaranteed to get a shot or two from a rifleman. As you can see, I just got a shot there. We're going to deal with more crows, and then we're going to pick up our final set of oil urns. The nice thing about this run is that there are quite a few blood vials early in the game, so you don't really have to be too stingy about using them if you end up taking a lot of damage. Blood vials don't start becoming really of critical importance until after Shadows of Yharnam, I would say. So now we're going to go fight Father Gascoigne. We are going to use the staircase cheese that you may have seen before. The reason is that while it wouldn't be too difficult to fight him straight up, we're not too much weaker than we would normally be in a run of this game. But if you're going to do No Hunter's Dream, you're going to start the run over a lot, in all likelihood. And at a certain point, it just becomes the path of least resistance to kill him this way. You're going to want to lure him up onto the stairs, and then stand right here, and then just bombard him with charged R2 attacks in the Saw Spear's transformed form. he can hit you, especially during his transformed axe phase, especially if he gets too far to the right, or if he does his overhead slam. That attack has a tendency to hit you. If he does the overhead slam, try to avoid it just by dashing forward. Although, if you get hit, it's really not that big of a deal. Alright, now for the beast phase. When he does this, just step back a few steps and start hurling the 4 Molotovs that we picked up at the start of Yharnam. It's pretty easy to miss, but if you do, just run up to him and give him another charged R2 attack, like I did there. So yeah, that's Father Gascoigne. Really not too tough if you use that strat. Now, I'm going to light the lamp here in the Cathedral Ward. The reason is that we're going to teleport out of here using the Hunter's Mark as soon as we kill the Bloodstarved Beast. It's just a lot easier to do that than it is to run all the way back through Old Yharnam. You saw there, I picked up the Hunter set and 6 Blood Vials. The Hunter set is going to be our fashion for the entirety of this run. Normally I would put it all on here, but for some reason I completely forgot, and I'm not going to put it on for a little while later. And here we get our first taste of dogs, which are the absolute worst enemies to deal with in this run. They usually come in groups, and they can very easily corner you and stunlock you and kill you, and the run can be over just like that. We're going to run over here and get a few fire paper from Alfred. During this run, you're going to see me on quite a few occasions go out of my way to get paper. It is extremely important to maximize your damage in any way you can during this run, be it through paper or beast blood. The amount of damage that you do with your unupgraded Saw Spear is pretty pitiful, so we really want to do whatever we can to make sure that we're doing as much damage as possible. And now we're going to head down to Old Yharnam and deal with the Bloodstarved Beast. I recommend heading up here and grabbing antidotes just in case the Bloodstarved Beast gives you a hard time. And we're going to move to the right and pick up these blood cocktails here. We are going to be using the Pungent Blood cocktail strat that you might have seen before against the Bloodstarved Beast. Run to your left here and you can pick up 6 more blood vials. This next part can be a little scary. You really don't want to get caught in the chain gun as it is blowing up the explosive jugs or whatever they are in this room. And it could get easy to get caught on a beast, and it can all be over right there. And we run over and pick up the fire paper, wait until the chain gun has hit the side of the building, and then we're going to run out again. creepy shot of the inside of the beast head right there. Now I go this way through the church. You could just run all the way down and run past everything, but it's a little bit slower and I just feel a little bit safer doing it this way. And you can run this way and collect a few more blood vials. It's not really necessary, but I prefer to stay maxed out when I can. This next section here can be a little bit dangerous just because we're running past a lot of werewolves. As long as you just keep sprinting, they probably aren't going to hurt you, but it is pretty easy to get nicked by them. Now over here to the left, we are going to find our first set of beast blood pellets, which are the single most precious resource in this run. You're going to see us go out of our way quite a few times to get beast blood, and we're going to try to use it as smartly as we can. Okay, now up here, I'm going to grab some fire paper, and then I'm going to quit out. Reason being is that it repositions all the enemies, and if I run up and run back down again, there is a very high likelihood that there will be a clusterfuck of beasts and werewolves waiting for me when I get to the bottom, and I don't want that. Okay, now I'm going to equip the fire paper, the beast blood, the blood cocktails, and the antidotes in that order. And again, as long as you keep sprinting, nothing should be able to hit you here. And here we are at the Bloodstar Beast. In case you haven't seen this strat before, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire paper up, I'm going to beast blood up, and then I'm just going to throw a single blood cocktail at the corner here. The blood cocktail attracts the Bloodstar Beasts, and it only works for about 7 seconds or so, I believe. So you'll want to make sure to have an internal clock in your head going for that. And whenever the beast sort of sits up and starts screaming, that's going to be a good opportunity for you to get in a backstab and throw another cocktail. Okay, that's it. Bloodstar Beast, not too difficult. And now we're going to Hunter's Mark back to the Cathedral Ward. Okay, now that this area has opened up, we are going to take the elevator and make our way down to Lower Yarnum. You can just ignore this wheelchair chain gunner guy. He doesn't really stand much of a chance of hitting you. These drops here look a little scary from a health perspective, but as long as you come in with full health, you will not die. And here you're actually going to see me remember that I have not yet equipped my hunter's gear, so I'm going to quickly do that. And then as long as you just sprint here off to the left at a 90-degree angle, you should land safely on that platform. Now this beast we can take out with 2 charged R2s and 2 visceral attacks. One of very few non-boss enemies that we're going to kill in this run. Just head straight to the elevator. As long as you're running, nothing should hurt you. Now we're going to head down here. The entire reason we are doing this is so that we can max out on poison throwing knives, which we're not going to use for a little while, but they will be very key in fighting the last couple of bosses in this run. You're going to have a beast and possibly some Yarnamites on your tail here, so you want to move quickly as possible. I recommend having a full stamina meter as you run up these stairs here so that you can sprint past the church giant and so that you can do some zigzags here to avoid the shots from the riflemen, who will definitely be trying to snipe at you. Okay, so now we're headed to Amelia. First we're going to fire paper up, then we're going to use beast blood. And essentially the strat here is that we're just going to try to limb stagger her as much as possible, similar to how we do the Dark Beast Parl or the one Reborn in a normal playthrough. That's essentially what we're going to try to do here. Just transform attack as much as possible. Do your best to avoid her attacks if she hits you at all, but if all goes right, she won't really get too much opportunity for attack. Get in a visceral here, and then I like to get in a couple shots at her head just because that'll do sort of another mini stagger. Then go to the other side and start wailing on those limbs. Should cause another stagger, and then you should be able to get in another couple hits on her head here. At this point, she's pretty close to death, so you can pretty much just finish the job off however you want. Preferably you don't get hit like I did there. One thing that's really important in the Amelia fight is to keep up your pace. You really want to finish her off within the time of just one beast blood pellet, which I believe is about a minute. If you aren't able to kill her, just pop another beast blood pellet. We are going to have a chance to refill on those a little bit later. But again, it's always best to try to get her done as quickly as possible because the longer she's alive, the more opportunity she has to kill you. And here you're going to see me go to the left. The reason is that I'm actually going to come over here and kill the Tonitrus NPC. The reason I'm going to do that is because he will drop 4 bolt paper when we kill him. Like I mentioned before, we are going to do everything we can to try to get paper. Bolt paper is especially good because a few of the late game bosses are actually weak to it. So even though it's kind of tedious and a little dangerous to fight this NPC, we're going to do it. Trust me, it's worth it. Okay, so we got our bolt paper, and now we're going to start making our way to the Forbidden Woods. This is the point in the run in which the difficulty starts to ramp up pretty significantly. The Forbidden Woods is one of the most dangerous areas in the game to run through, and there are several very important pickups that we need to remember to get. Head to the left there, and pick up 6 more blood vials if you need them. Alright, and I am going to hit that lamp there. The reason I'm going to do that is because in case I use a lot of resources on the shadows, I can warp back there and run through this area again and pick up some vials that I previously did not pick up. This area right here is a little scary. Reason being, there are dogs on your tail, and as we've established, dogs are the absolute worst in this run. If you drop down to the right here, you can actually pick up these beast blood pellets through the wall. And if you make a sharp right, you can pick up some more blood vials as well. Up here in this house to the left are 4 blue elixirs, which are going to be very important. Now, this right here is one of the scariest parts of the entire run. As you can see, there's a giant cluster of dogs. Very easy to die right there. You really want to just keep moving through this. You don't want to slow down at all and give the dogs a chance to gang up on you. And then up here, you're going to move down here to collect Molotov cocktails. Unfortunately, right there, I got hit by a Molotov cocktail. Fortunately, I was not in the oil, because if I was, then I'd probably be dead. The cannon can't hit you as long as you just keep sprinting ahead, so don't worry too much about that. This snake guy up here is pretty dangerous. If he does his lunging attack, where he hits you with all of his head snakes, he can one-shot you. So I like to immediately do a sharp 90-degree angle as soon as I pass him, just to make sure I'm able to dodge that attack. And from here, it's pretty much smooth sailing through the rest of the Forbidden Woods. Not much really has a chance to hit us. If you're watching this, you probably know the way through here, but in case you don't, just follow the road. It's lit by lanterns, and if you follow it, you will eventually get there. since I did get hit with that Molotov and had to burn a couple blood vials, I am going to get a couple vials from this pig here. Pigs pretty reliably drop at least 2 blood vials, sometimes 4, and they're really easy to chain backstab, so I highly recommend being maxed out on vials for the shadows. So if you're running a little low, you can very easily kill this pig or the one a little ways the other way. And now we're going to head to the shadows, which is easily the worst part of the run, in my opinion. This is where the vast majority of my runs died. It is extremely tough. The strategy that we're going to use here is that we're going to go after the Tonitrus Shadow first. There are a couple reasons for that, namely because it's really not fun when he's shooting fireballs at you from off screen, and the other reason is because he has the lowest HP by far out of the 3 shadows, so overall it's easiest just to try to get rid of him first. This fight starts off really well. I'm being pretty aggressive, getting transform attacks in there, getting my beast blood up, but here is a very bad situation, because normally as the shadows are transitioning to phase 2, you really want to stay on the Tonitrus Shadow, get in a backstab, and then either follow it up with a second backstab or hit him with the visceral attack. Unfortunately, I got hit for almost all my life and felt compelled to heal, which means that now I have to deal with all 3 hunters in the second phase, which is really not ideal. As you see, I'm going to come very close to dying many times, and this part of the fight was kind of a disaster. Okay, that's 1 shadow down, and now the really hard part. We're going to go after the quote-unquote standard sword shadow here. The reason is that we really want to save the candle shadow for phase 3 because it's pretty easy to cheese him. With the second shadow here, ideally we want to maintain a pretty close distance to him actually. The reason is because at medium range he does that really annoying poke attack as well as a scoop attack, and it can be difficult to dodge, especially if the shadow candle is doing the same. That's probably the attack that killed me more than any other during all my attempts here. Side note, it's best to use bolt paper for this shadow, whereas the Tonitrus Hunter is weak to fire. Part of the reason you want to stay close to the shadow is so that you can bait him into his normal-ish sword attacks, the ones that don't have ridiculously long range, because they are pretty easily punishable. You saw there I was able to hit both of them with a transform attack at once. That's really good because it's going to get your beast meter nice and high. And from here, it's really just a matter of trying to keep them both on screen. Know what the candle shadow is doing at all times. Don't get too greedy, but at the same time be cognizant of the fact that you want to keep your beast meter up. That's probably the tricky thing about this fight, is maintaining aggression while still exercising extreme caution. Alright, and now the fight is pretty much done. From here, you're just going to do the 2-step cheese with this candle shadow. Just stay on him and hit him with standard R1 attacks whenever he stops. And just be patient and he'll be dead pretty soon. Okay, that was a pretty sloppy fight, but we survived, and that's what's important. Remember when I hit the lamp at the beginning of the Forbidden Woods? Well, this is why. 2 blood vials is really not an acceptable amount to go into ROM with, so we're going to go back, we're going to kill a couple more pigs, and we're going to pick up one more stash of vials that I left, just in case this happened. And while we're at it, I'm also going to pick up a few more beast blood pellets as well, just so we can max out on those. To the right here, you're going to pick up another little stash of blood vials here. 6 to be exact. And then we're going to head here to the left and very carefully avoid this beast. He can one-shot you with that, so you want to be extremely careful. Grab the beast blood pellets and get the hell out of there. I'm going to make a left here to try to kill this pig for some blood vials. It doesn't go quite as planned. As you can see, I really messed up the charged R2 attack and actually jumped, and it almost got me killed, as you're about to see. That was a close one. Getting killed by a pig right after killing Shadows would have been pretty frustrating, to say the least. I always try to have at least 10 vials going into the romp fight, so just to be safe, I'm going to kill this pig as well. Plus he's a lot easier to kill than the first pig because there's a lot more space to maneuver around in. Plus, as you can see, the fire is going to help me out and finish off the pig. The nice thing about the Hunter's Mark is that it actually refills your health bar when you use it. So I'm going to light this lamp and then immediately Hunter's Mark, and I'm going to resurrect with full health bar. If that seems a little excessive, I assure you it's not. From this point forward in the run, every scrap of health is going to be extremely important. At this point, I'm just sort of taking a moment to stretch, take a sip of water, and gather myself because I know that the fight ahead is going to be extremely long and is going to require a lot of focus. This ROM fight that I'm about to do takes about 20 minutes. It's very difficult to do in fewer than, I'd say, 15 minutes. And it's quite exhausting because it requires a lot of patience, as you will see. So I'm going to equip the items that I need for the fight, which include the oil urns, as I mentioned, the Molotovs, Beast Blood, and the blue elixirs. And here we're going to do our best just to sprint past all these Garden of Eyes enemies here. You don't want to slow down too much because if you do, they will have a habit of following you up the stairs here, which is really not good. Very important that you use a blue elixir here. The reason is because you do not want this Bergenworth Scholar to aggro to you. If the Scholar sees you, she will call Beyond, and that's a one-shot if it lands. We really don't want that. So we're going to very quickly run up here, grab the key, go back down, and then just make a beeline for the door. And if you do that, she should be down the stairs, and she shouldn't see you. Alright, and so begins the ROM fight. The first phase really isn't too bad because you don't have to worry about ROM. You only have to focus on the spiders. Now, my strategy is first to try to find any spiders that are by themselves, not too close to any other spiders like this one that I'm about to fight here. You really don't want to attack a spider if there are other spiders too close to it, especially if those spiders are facing you. If their backs are turned to you, there's not much that they can do aside from a fairly rare web attack, but that's not going to kill you right away or anything. So yeah, just circle around, be patient, don't take any risks, and do your best not to get hit like I just did a few seconds ago. Carelessness will really get you killed. You really want to try to keep as many spiders in your camera view as possible. You don't want any spiders dive bombing you unexpectedly, because that can and will one-shot you. Now, as you just saw there, I got a dive bombing spider pretty isolated. When they have their butts up in the air like that, they take counter damage. So if you can attack them in that state, that's really the ideal time. Otherwise, they're going to take around 5 or 6 swipes from an R1 attack to kill. Considering how many spiders there are across all 3 phases, that's a lot of swipes, that's a lot of time. Now, nothing too unusual happens in this first phase here, but you definitely want to stick around for the second phase because some very unusual things happen. In fact, some things happen that I have never seen in all my fights with Ron before, and frankly, I'm pretty surprised that I made it out of this fight alive. You'll see what I mean. Rom is obviously not hostile in this first phase, so you just want to keep hitting her until you get to phase 2. There's no reason to use any resources like beast blood or paper, so just be patient here for a little bit. You see how close Rom spawned to me during the second phase? That's when I knew that we were about to be in for some weirdness. And that's not it, trust me, just stick around till the end of this second phase, and you'll see exactly what I mean. The most important thing to remember during phase 2 and 3 of Rom is that you absolutely must have your camera on her at all times. The reason is that she can raise up like she's doing now and unleash a rain of meteor showers on you, in which case you need to be ready to sprint immediately in any direction. For this reason, it's also extremely important that you never run out of stamina at any point during this fight. Even if you're on the verge of killing a spider, do not take an extra shot at it if it means that it's going to completely deplete your stamina bar. At any point she can raise up, and if you're not able to sprint away, there is a very high likelihood that you will die. One thing I try to do in this fight is just stand in front of a group of spiders and hope that one of them starts to charge towards me to try to do an attack. That's really the best way that I know of to separate the spiders. As you can see here, something very strange has happened. 2 spiders have drifted way far away from Rom. I have never seen this ever before in my life. I have no idea why it happened. Well, I have some idea why that might have happened, but we'll get to that. Believe it or not, even after these spiders are dead, the weirdness of this phase is not over. You'll see. Okay, now I'm going to run up and eat a beast blood pellet to try to make this fight go a little bit faster. And as you can see, the camera got a little weird there as I went up to the side of Rom. The reason is because we are actually up against the barrier of the boss arena. This has never happened to me before in Phase 2 of this fight. It happens occasionally during Phase 1, but never in my life have I had it happen during Phase 2, and it's about the worst turn of events that we could have had, because, as you can see, I need to be able to rapidly dash away from Rom at any given point when she starts attacking, and I can't really do that if I don't know where the boundaries are. You can see I'm trying to be extremely careful and try to figure out where exactly the boundaries are while getting close enough to hit Rom, but I'm kind of freaking out at this point, and I'm thinking that I'm probably not going to survive this. I used the second beast blood pellet right here, which ended up being a real mistake. You're going to see why towards the end of this run when I really could have used the beast blood pellet. Okay, thank God that's over. We somehow made it to Phase 3. I was unsure it was going to happen. As you can see, we're right up against the barrier there, but we made it. In Phase 3, nothing too strange happens here. It's a pretty typical Phase 3. I don't know if it's just me, but it always seems like Rom's aggression kicks up just a few notches during this phase. Maybe it's true, maybe I'm just imagining it. If it seems like I'm being overly cautious in this fight, I can promise you I'm not. This is the level of caution that is necessary to complete this fight. Any greediness or anxiousness to get it over with will get you killed. It certainly got me killed at many attempts trying to do this run, I can assure you. So yeah, nothing too odd happens here, but you do want to see the way that I handle the last few, or rather, Rom by herself after all the spiders are dead. You may have seen that notification pop up there. That's because my PS4 controller was actually dying. I told myself after this fight that I was going to plug it in and continue the run with a plugged in controller, but stupidly I actually forgot to do that. It would have been very unfortunate if I was fighting Mergo's wet nurse and my controller died. Fortunately though, that did not happen, for which I am very grateful. Okay, and now is where those oil urns are going to come in handy. We're just going to alternate between oil urns and Molotovs. Biggest reason for this is that we really don't want to melee Rom, if possible, during this third phase. her quote-unquote melee attack where she flops around is pretty difficult to deal with, and if you get hit by it more than once, you're probably gonna die. So yeah, you really want to make the proper use of your Molotovs. One tricky thing is that you want to stay close enough to Rom that your Molotovs hit beyond her head onto her body. But that is in itself kind of dangerous because she can do this lunging forward attack that you're going to see me dodge during this fight. And that's really not good. You want to try to avoid hitting her head because you're going to do crap damage with the Molotov. And you want to try to kill her using strictly Molotovs. You don't want to have to fight her melee. As you can see, that second to last Molotov I threw did 42 damage, which is not good enough, so now unfortunately I am going to be forced to attacking Rom with melee. Whew, that's a long fight. Like I said, very long, very patience testing. You see here that I'm going to take another minute just to sort of collect myself, get up, stretch, loosen up. I've been very tense for the past 20 minutes. A lot of strange things happened in that fight, a lot of close calls. So right now I'm really just steeling myself for the fact that it is far from over. We still have to run through Yahar Ghul, and then we have another pretty long fight with the One Reborn to get through. Yahar Ghul might be the scariest area to run through, in my opinion. There's a lot that can go wrong. There's a lot of enemies that do a lot of damage. You have to avoid them. You have to avoid amygdala lasers. It's just a very stressful area to run through, especially given that any death beyond this point is really a heartbreaker. You really don't want to have to do Rom again, so you need to be very careful that you maximize your chances of living here and play it as safe as you can. Jump off the side of the stairs here to the right and grab 3 bolt paper, then drop down again and head immediately for the stairs. It's very important here that you stay to the left to avoid the amygdala laser while also being wary of all the enemies around there. I did die there once and I was not happy about it, I can tell you that. I'm going to light this lamp just for safety in case I want to warp back and refill my health bar. It may seem excessive, but again, at this point in the run, every little bit of health counts. And very carefully run through here, grab 8 blood vials while avoiding dogs and riflemen and pitchforkmen. Run down here, drink a blue elixir, and then hug as close as you can to the right wall. You really want to try to avoid aggroing the NPC characters in here. You do not want them chasing you around as you make your way through the rest of this level here. It's very bad. So we're going to go grab 5 bolt paper. What you want to do is actually aggro that casket and make it turn around and then run around the other side of it. That way it's never actually facing you. Carefully avoid the gunshot here and then make your way up to the elevator. Jump off onto the ledge here. Carefully avoid this dog and make your way to the glowing teleportation bath thing. As soon as you run up to it and hit X, you're invulnerable, so you don't have to worry about the dog, thankfully, at that point. Okay. You immediately run through here and head down the ladder. Hopefully nothing falls on you. Something fell on me, but that's okay. We were going to top off with a blood vial anyways for the one reborn. Okay, so the one reborn. The strat that you're going to see me employ here is not the absolute safest strat. The safe strat involves actually camping out in one of these towers here and luring the one reborn into clipping one of its limbs through the wall, at which point you attack it that way. The problem with that strat is that it takes forever, significantly longer than the strat that you're going to see me use here. So even though it is the safer strat, I just don't want to play that way. So I adopt for the considerably faster, slightly riskier strat. Now you want to take out these 2 Bell Maiden people. Ideally you want to backstab them, but I wasn't able to do that. But regardless, you have to take them out. Okay, and now I'm going to begin my strat for the one reborn. This strategy that you're going to see me use looks simple, but has a lot of components and actually takes a fair bit of practice. I know that it took me many attempts to actually get this down to a point where I felt comfortable with it. If you want, you can make a run up here and then use save states to practice this, because if you don't know what you're doing, it can be over for you pretty quickly. So the strategy here is you want to hide behind this pillar here. You want to run up to the edge of the catwalk there anytime the one reborn heads down and lure him into attack, at which point hide behind the side of the pillar as you're seeing me do there. The biggest threat to you during this fight is his attack called the Vein Shot. That's where you see the dark red aura appear and all the blood and guts shoots out at you. That's really the only way that the boss is going to be able to kill us during this phase. A lot of this fight is going to come down to RNG. He does one of 3 attacks, and 2 of them are pretty good. One of them is really good, and then he has one that's really bad. The hand attack that you saw right there, you can punish that with just like an R2 charge, but if he slams his quote-unquote head down, you can punish that with a charged R2 followed by an L1 transform attack like you're going to see me do. You want to get to a position on the stairs where you're far enough back that the one reborn actually isn't going to hit you with either of those attacks. And you want to time it so that you are able to get off the charged R2. Now, the attack that's really bothersome is the attack that you see here not this one, but the one he just did where he swings his arm above you. That's the attack that we're going to have to watch out for during this run. When he does it, you're going to want to roll to the right, and then you want to be extremely careful because there will very likely be a vein shot that is going to come out of the sky and try to hit you. Sometimes you're going to see me in this fight use the pillar that's to the right of me to block that shot, but that's not always the most consistent method. The way that I recommend doing it is learning the timing of the vein shot, learn how long after the red aura appears the vein shot actually spits out at you. There are going to be times where you can't actually see where the vein shot is coming from, in which case I strongly recommend that you simply walk back or jog back, as it were, to your spot behind this pillar here. The reason being is that you don't want to roll away. If the vein shot hits you as you're rolling, that's going to be a one shot. I recommend that in these cases you just let it hit you, because if it hits you and it's not counter damage, then you can just heal up again with 2 vials. That's why it's important to have, I would say, at least 10 vials in this fight. Obviously you make do with what you have, but I think it's important to make sure that you have as many as possible. And we are going to use the majority of our paper here. I'm going to save a handful of bolt paper for Mergo's wet nurse, but I'm actually going to use all of my fire paper. So yeah, if you're lucky with this head attack that you're seeing now, you can actually be in such a position that your transform attack hits not only that front part, but also his torso head area thing that is casting spells. It's difficult to find that position oftentimes, but if you do, it's going to do significantly more damage. Like 400 damage or more as opposed to like half that. So yeah, obviously you want him to do that head frontal attack as many times as possible, and you want him to do his overhead arm swing as few times as possible. And there's really no way to manipulate that. It really is just down to the AI and what it feels like doing. So yeah, like I said, this strategy is really not too difficult, but it takes a lot of practice, and it takes a certain amount of trial and error. Hopefully watching this will help you do it. And that's going to be pretty much it in terms of my commentary for this fight. You're going to see me take a few hits, but other than that, it goes pretty well. And if you'd like to skip ahead to the point where the boss dies, feel free to skip ahead to around the 1 hour and 16 minute mark. Alright, so the one reborn is dead. At this point, we are really in the heart attack zone. It took us a long time to get here, and unfortunately, things aren't going to get much safer for us beyond this point. The Nightmare Mensis has a lot of really dangerous enemies, and we're going to use blue elixirs to try to get through it as best we can. You can just run straight through the lecture hall here. The slime scholars aren't going to give you any trouble. And pop a blue elixir there to make sure that this silver beast does not aggro to you. The silver beasts are incredibly fast, and their jump attack can cover great distances and most likely one-shot you. So you're going to quickly come up here and pick up 8 blood vials right in front of that silver beast, and then just sprint away. Unfortunately, there's really nothing you can do about the frenzy damage from the Brain of Mensis here, so you just have to tank it and keep running. Little bit of a scary moment right there. Luckily, I was able to roll away from that giant rock throwing beast there. And I come up here just to be safe because I don't want to run through the spiders if I don't have to. They have a way of nicking at you, and they do a surprising amount of damage. Now, once you pass the threshold here, you actually want to slow down just a little bit, just because there's an enemy in the doorway there, and you want to make sure you have a clear path and wait for it to move out of the way. The NPC shouldn't bother you as long as you keep moving. You want to go to the right here and pick up the last beast blood pellet that you're going to pick up in this run. Careful to avoid the NPC, and run all the way to the left up here and grab the last batch of blue elixirs that we're going to get in this run. Here you're going to see me checking out to make sure that the hunter NPC has leashed back to his natural spot. And then we're going to run down the stairs and chug another blue elixir. The reason I do this is because the axe and chain enemies, particularly the one by the elevator, are kind of a pain. And at this point in the run, I just don't want to take any chances. And as you can see, he almost hit me there, even though I was blue elixired. Okay, so now it's Mikolash time. Believe it or not, the real hazard in this fight is not Mikolash himself, but these puppet marionette looking things. They're called ethereal walkers. They're a real pain in the ass, and you're gonna see why. So what you want to do is chase Mikolash into that hallway, And then you're going to want to lure this ethereal walker that's right in front of the hallway down here and kill it. The reason you want to do this is because you're actually going to want to fight Mikolash in that hallway, and you want to make sure that this walker is down here when it respawns and is not going to aggro to you, because if it does, that's really bad, potentially fight ending bad. Okay, so now the way that Mikolash works here is a little bit weird. What he does is, if you're in the hallway, he'll make his way to the threshold and just sort of stay there, and then wait for you to make your way out into the main hall before he steps into the hallway. So here you're going to see me try to bait him. Alright, so now he's in the hallway, we beast blood up, and now we're just going to go to work on Mikolash. All you want to do here is just do all the transform attacks that you can, get that beast meter up, and just try to get as much damage in as you can before the beast meter runs out. The nice thing about this fight is that he only has the Augur of Abratus attack, and fortunately it will not one-shot you even at full beast meter as long as you don't take counter damage. So what you want to do here is, at the end of each combo, you want to stay in front of him for just a fraction of a second, just long enough to bait him into doing his attack, and then move to the side, and then come back and just repeat the combo. You want to try to keep him in one spot here. You really want to try to keep him cornered because his natural inkling is to want to go and try to go either back into his room or into the main hall. And I just got hit there, and you're going to see me very carefully heal myself back up to full health. And he's back in his room. This is bad because I have to step foot out into the main hall again, which risks aggroing some of the ethereal walkers, which is very bad. And as you can see, I successfully aggroed an ethereal walker. At this point, I am really worried. I actually considered quitting out at this point and restarting the fight, but I didn't want to restart Mikolash with a full health bar and use any more beast blood pellets. So I just kind of try to deal with it here. All I can really do is try to lure the walker back down to the bottom of the stairs and take care of him. As you can see, I almost died right there. It's much more difficult to do this time now that Mikolash is actively aggro to us. Stuff like this is why this particular run ended up taking a way longer time than I expected. Between this and the weirdness of the ROM fight and some stuff that you're going to see in a little bit with Mergo's wet nurse, this fight probably should have taken like a full 20 minutes less than it actually did. But you can't complain about a successful run, so what are you going to do? Mikolash is going to do some Michael Myers shit here where as long as you're facing him, he's not going to move, but the second you turn your back to him, he's going to start advancing slowly towards you. And I'm using a ton of blood vials. Very bad. At this point, I am beginning to get discouraged and worry that I'm not going to have enough vials for the wet nurse. So now I'm going to begin the process of trying to lure him back into the hallway so that we can salvage this fight. I'm going to step into his room very gingerly so that I don't wake up any of the walkers there. Now he's back in the hall, and we can finish off this fight the way that we were supposed to. Again, you really want to keep him cornered so that he doesn't move out into the hall or into his room because, well, you just saw why. It really is amazing just how shit your damage is, even with a full beast meter. But normally, as long as you keep attacking, you should be able to get him down to phase 2 with 2 beast blood pellets. And now you're going to see me stand here for a few seconds just to make sure that my beast meter runs out. I don't want to get clipped by any walkers and have them do a shitload of damage to me. Okay, now for phase 2. We're going to run up here and we're going to collect 8 blood vials. Those are the last blood vials that we are going to be able to collect for the remainder of this run. Now, this part is pretty weird and frustrating if it doesn't go your way. Ideally there, instead of running straight ahead into the mirror, he's going to run left and drop down into his room there. That's what you need to have happen. You need for him to run directly to the left from that spot, otherwise the cheese that we're going to try to do here isn't going to work. So, unfortunately, I have to just kind of chase him around for a little while here. Maybe there's a way that I'm not aware of to manipulate his AI into getting him to run where you need him to run faster, but I don't know what it is, so unfortunately I kind of just have to chase him around for quite a while here until he goes where I want him to. And finally. Now at this point we're going to cheese him with those poison knives that we picked up way back towards the beginning of the run. It takes 2 knives to poison him, and while he's poisoned, he's actually going to get stuck in this teleporting, looping animation thing. We'll need to poison him 4 times for him to die, and we will be left with exactly 12 poison knives, which we are going to use for the wet nurse. Nothing's going to happen for a little while here, so if you want to skip ahead to the part where he dies, you can move to around the 1 hour and 33 minute mark. Alright, so now we just have one fight left, and I'm actually going to throw on the Mensis Cage here, just for that extra little bit of defense, because why not? The shadows up ahead here aren't going to present much of a threat to me, but as long as I have 2 elixirs left, I might as well play it safe. You can see I got a little sidetracked here and went the wrong way. And down here is where you want to go if you want to bypass all the pigs and shadows up ahead. I'm actually going to go and pick up Yosefka's Blood Vial here because it can't hurt to have a little extra healing. And now we're going to make our way to Mergo's Wet Nurse, the final fight of this run. At this point, as you can imagine, I'm quite nervous. My adrenaline is flowing quite a bit. My heart is beating. I really don't want to lose this run. Believe it or not, the attempt right before this, I actually got within 1 to 2 hits away from killing Mergo's Wet Nurse and died. So I was really focused on this being the run. Now you'll notice we have 12 poison throwing knives. Normally this would be perfect because the Wet Nurse takes 4 throwing knives to get poisoned. However, for some reason here, despite all of the poison knives landing, it took 5 knives to poison her, which means that I can only poison her twice instead of 3 times. This is extremely bad, because if we're able to poison her 3 times, the passive poisoning effect is actually going to take around half her damage, and it's going to cut down on the timing of this fight significantly. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and it's going to lead to a bad situation later in the fight, as you're about to see. That splaying attack that you see right there is the ideal attack because it allows us to dash up to her, get in an R1 and 2 L1 attacks. And now she's going to go into her clone phase. I don't know what happened here, but the clone didn't really bother me in this phase. I don't know if it just didn't spawn or if it just wasn't especially aggressive, but we didn't have any real trouble in this particular phase. During this part, as long as you just keep running around the outside, you should be fine. Just make sure that you don't run out of stamina because you need to be ready to rush past any clones as soon as they appear near you. This lawnmower attack is pretty dangerous because you can take a lot of chip damage that way, but you really need to maximize your beast meter here, so you need to stay aggressive and try to get around to her back while she's doing it. Now this really stinks because I just popped a Beast Blood pellet and she's going into her second clone phase, which means that I essentially just wasted a whole Beast Blood pellet. Now I didn't know this before I started doing attempts on No Hunter Stream, but the first time that she goes into her clone phase, she spawns one clone. But every time after that, she spawns two clones, which makes it significantly more dangerous. My strategy here is, as soon as I'm past one clone, I stop for a little bit and let my stamina regen. Like I said, you don't want to run out of stamina. Fortunately, I got hit right there. As you can imagine, it's very scary this late in the run. She has some annoying moves that can really stop you from maximizing your beast meter and keeping your attack up. She does the teleport like you just saw. She also has an annoying habit of backing up against the wall. Attacking her from the front is a no-go, so whenever she gets against the wall, you really have to just wait for her to get out from there because, again, you cannot attack her while facing her directly from the front. That is how I died in the attempt before this. And that's it. That's my last Beast Blood pellet. At this point, I'm pretty stressed out because I know that one Beast Blood pellet is not going to be close to enough to actually kill her. So I'm going to have to make the most that I can with my pathetic saw spear damage until she's dead. And I know that it's going to take quite a long time and that I don't really have very many heals left. So not a great situation. At this point, I'm really cursing the fact that I was not able to poison her with just 4 knives at the beginning of this fight, and I'm also cursing the fact that I used extra Beast Blood pellets during ROM and during Mikolash. If I had those Beast Blood pellets right now, this fight would not have taken nearly as long. And we get yet another clone phase. At this point, I know that with my current damage, I'm probably going to be subjected to at least one, most likely two more clone phases. And with only 3 blood vials and Yoseku's vials left, I am definitely freaking out a little bit. As you can see, our damage output at this point is just absolutely pathetic. We do 23 damage with a standard R1, and the last 10 to 15, maybe 20% of the Wet Nurse's health bar here is going to take forever to get all the way down. This fight ends up taking nearly as long as the ROM fight, actually, which shouldn't be the case, but hey, I got myself into this position. Mercifully, I was able to stagger her just as she was going into another clone phase. Very lucky right there. agonizingly close to a kill there. I am at most 2 hits away from killing her, which is a familiar position. I really wanted to just wail on her and finish this fight off, but I knew that the safest thing to do would be just to try to wait out this last clone phase and then go for the kill. And that's it. Just one last shot. And the run is over. We did it. It's a run that took many attempts. It's a run that is extremely difficult. Like I said, one of the most difficult challenge runs that I've ever done in Souls, probably the most difficult. And I'm extremely happy to have done it. And now there's only one thing left to do, and that is to go have a word with Gehrman. And now we're actually going to see the rare and unique cutscene that you can only get by doing this run, which is you waking up in the Hunter's Dream with the workshop already on fire. Pretty cool. Alright, now let's go get naked and speak to Gehrman. Alright, and that's going to do it for this commentary. I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough. If you decide to do this run, be prepared. It is a very difficult run, but hopefully this video helps you through it. Alright, thanks guys.
find your worth in the waking world.